RAG and MCP fundamentals, the architecture blueprint, building integrated autonomous AI systems from the ground up. Barrier 1, knowledge cutoff, cannot read private data, private policies. Barrier 2, read only, cannot trigger external actions. Standard alone LLMs like GPT-4 are incredibly capable. What fundamental isolated? To build true autonomous system, we must shatter the jar by giving the model memory, private data, and hands external tools. Prompt engineering, the rule book, function, behavior, and a guardrail. If a user asks about salary, politely redact them to HR, cost, free, and instant. Fine tuning the persona, function, voice, tone, and style. Example, training on past emails to sound exactly like our CEO, cost and high cost statistic. Rack the memory function, dynamic factual information. What is the current reimbursement policy for home office setup? Cost and speed, real time, highly accurate. The core RAG architecture retrieve. Search private data at a query time based on user intent. Argument, user prompt retrieval. Construct a hyper contextualized prompt before the LLM generates a word. Generate. The LLM outputs a highly accurate cited answer based only on the injected phrase. Retrieval augmented generation fundamentally alters the workflow. It prevents hallucination by grounding the LLM in a retrieved reality. Matrix keyword versus semantic search. Keyword search TF, IDF, BM25, alliance reimbursement. Mechanism matches exact character on word frequency brittle fails entirely if the user searches for the work from home, but the document only says remote. Semantic search embedding desk, furniture, office equipment. Mechanism convert text into mathematical meaning using AI models. The advantage context aware, understand intent regardless of the specific vocabulary used, the absolute foundation of a modern RAG. Visualizing meaning as a math, embedding models like a Hall Mini LM L6V to translate raw text into dense 384 dimensional mathematical vector. Cementing similarity is no longer about matching later, it is calculated by measuring the shortest mathematical distance between two coordinates. Animal, pets, and dots. Dot products 0.73 high similarity. Workplace, office, remote. Dot products 0.36 low similarity. Vector database and a smart indexing. Navy nav search. Scanning 109200 unorganized vectors for every single query is mathematically impossible at a scale. HNSW indexing, vector DB, chroma, pinecode, pre-organized vector into semantic neighborhoods, allowing for instant scalable retrieval across thousands of documents. The art of document preparation, the chunking, the Goldilocks zone. Docs are allowed on Friday. Size 50 character, overlap 50 character, preserve grammatical meaning across cuts. Chunks too small, loss of context. Information is fragmented and meaningless. Chunks too weak, loss of precision. Overwhelms the LM with irrelevant data. Production drag, speed and resilience. The speed stack query caches response 5 millisecond embedding vector DB LLM call. Standard compute 950 millisecond multi-tiered caching of words recomputing speeding up. Identical queries by 190x. The circuit breaker full semantic rack. If vector DB fails, keyword search. If search fails, raw text matching last resort. Graceful error message. Production system require fallback mechanism to ensure user receives answer even during the infrastructure outage. The agency problem inducing the MCP, the security mass, AI agent API1, custom script, database A, legacy server, SaaS, Apex, database B, internal tool, cloud service application by Fragile. Historical developers wrote Fragile custom API integration for every single external service, a universal adapter, AI agent, JSON, RPC protocol, MCP server, database A, legacy server, SaaS A, database B, internal tool, cloud service application by model context protocol standardize how AI agents communicate, acting as a universal open source adapter for all external tools. Anatomy of an MCP server resource, the read-only data, expose fixed contents to the API. Example, API documentation, internal FAQ, or a local file path tool. Executable action functions the LLM can actively trigger, such as flight Alex to JFK for create database entry, prompts, developer instruction, predefined templates detecting how the LLM should behave when utilizing the tool. Client-side control, boundaries and safety, giving all hands requires strict operational guardrail. Root strictly defines the limits, the local file path the service is permitted to access. Sampling, client control, ensure the client dictates which specific LLM model processes the elicitation. Forces the server to pause and request human approval before high tasks like booking a flight. The autonomous by book a flight according to my remote work budget, rack pipeline vector V context retrieve company budget rules $100 max action flight such flights tool triggered. The autonomous agent fully realized RAG knowledge supplies the private dynamic intelligence, MCP supplies the standardized external agencies. Together they form the operating system for next generation workflow.